And Nancy Avery going to give a presentation on neighbors helping neighbors.
I'll go first and then invite Nancy to come up forward. Some time ago we started talking about what is already happening. We called it asset-based community development. What that means is that we look at the neighborhood to say, what are the assets here? What are the things that, what are the gifts that people bring to a particular neighborhood, and how can we mobilize those particular gifts together? And just like you were talking about, you know, you become an asset in the MordecaiCAC, and people here become asset to possibly volunteer. You add value because you're working with children within the neighborhood as well. Just an illustration of what this could be. A number of us enjoyed the music of Friday night last year at the China Peace restaurant, and out on the parking lot there were sometimes 200, sometimes 300 people out there listening to music, having a good time. Well, you know how that happened? It happened because a guy by the name of Guy Capriola said, we want to continue this. What had already happened at the grocery store. And so he contacted Ace Hardware and the Peace China restaurant. And so it's kind of like Guy had the idea, and he said these assets are businesses that can help pull this off, and then neighbors volunteered to provide a lot of different kinds of things, partly just to kind of manage the children that were riding around in their scooters, partly to manage the bar that was set up. There are a variety of ways that people work together. When you begin to think about how neighbors become neighborly, it's when people connect with each other, when they start talking to each other. A smile becomes an asset in a neighborhood. Saying your name, hi, I'm Duane, what's your name, where do you live? Bennett, you know, he sat down beside me, we got acquainted that way. Suddenly we start connecting as people together, and when people connect with each other, something happens in the neighborhood. One of the things that happens in the neighborhood is like a neighborhood watch got started. Was last month? Mm-hmm. Well, people come out of a concern for safety. They can come concern about how to make the neighborhood more livable, and they bring their assets together. So when you think about assets, you think about the gifts of the hands, what people can do with their hands. Some people can garden. Some people can paint. Some people are plumbers. Some people are carpenters. What are some other assets of the hands? What you can do with your hands?
Like the garden.
Gardening. Sketch. Musical.
Auto mechanic.
Auto mechanic.
There you go.
Everyone has their gifts in their own way to contribute.
That's right.
It's
That's
like
exactly
barter.
right.
It's like, you know, everything. Everyone has, you know, their own. It'll all work out. Just
And when people bring their assets together, then it begins to develop relationships.
nothing you can't accomplish.
And then there's the assets of the head. It's kind of like what you know, what you've learned, what you're skilled at, what you can teach other people to do. And when sometimes people come together to accomplish a project. For instance, there's a little project on Poplar Springs that was developed some years ago, where they simply came together and put steps down into the park to make it more usable, more friendly. And so you had a guy who knew how to construct angles so that the steps could be on an angle. Somebody came there who knew how to mix cement, and others came there to do the work. And so now they have a nice little park. But then there's the gifts of the heart. That's what you care about. What you care enough about that you're willing to get off the couch and do something about it. And that brings us to the idea of neighbors helping neighbors. And Nancy, I'd like for you to come up. And here again, this story starts with Guy, who is one of these people that thinks neighborhood almost immediately. He doesn't think, okay, what social service can provide something, but he thinks neighborhood. And so there was a crisis in a particular neighborhood fairly near here, and a family could not enter their home for several hours. And what happened was that Guy saw this and he invited them into their house, and then realized that this family had particular needs. They had moved here from out of state. The guy was only able to land a very low-paying job. They had a small son. They did not have enough money to heat their home. And so you began to see that there were some needs. So he just puts out an email and says, these are some things these people need. Well, Nancy here picks up that email. And tell us a little bit about what happened from there.
Well, it's just been a bunch of neighbors, and Duane and his wife Lois have been really great as well. But what we've been trying to do is just kind of identify these people's needs. I mean, and these are, you know, normal people. She's got a business degree. They are just, I mean, swirling around looking for work, you know, and trying to just hold it together. So we got a bunch of people, they were going into winter. They came from Florida. They didn't have sweaters and sweatpants for the little 1-year-old. So lots of people showed up and brought clothes, Christmas presents, you know, a month later. And she's got a baby due in April. So we're trying to do 2 things. If anyone knows of someone who is hiring, the husband is looking for a job. He works in kitchens, he does construction, so if anyone knows anything, if anyone knows, and they don't have a car, so it needs to be close by, and, you know, yeah.
Valley Parking, the company I work for, all they have to do is be able to drive a stick and not have DUIs and not be a sketchball. It's like, they're always hiring people. We have a turnover rate all the time. So.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
Oh, it's a company called Royal Parking. They're always hiring people constantly. They have a lot of college students that go in and out.
You can talk to him after.
Yeah, I'll get that after.
Let me just name some of the assets that happen here. We've got to keep on target. And then you can sell your. But I just want to just help you think about what happened here. Is Nancy? Could you say a little bit why this hooked you? Why it grabbed you?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, just hearing about a cold. I have a little boy. He just turned 2, and hearing the story about them wandering the street, and she's big old pregnant, and got this cold little 1-year-old. I mean, my heart just about broke, you know, just thinking about it. And then I met them, and they're funny, they're nice, she's a neat freak. I get that. And, you know, she is really...
You had a common connection.
Yeah, I mean,
both had little boys.
She, you know, I had rough times when I was growing up, you know, and I understood where she was coming from, and I just, you know...
Identified.
Well,
the other thing that happened is that the landlord was not doing the job.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that.
And her husband is an attorney who works with problems with landlords. So he can write a nice little letter. And the rental manager was out there to fix it up right away. But, you know, suddenly, boom, boom, you start finding connections like that. And it's amazing how many assets are in a neighborhood that suddenly people start reaching out. So Mary Lee Jacobson knew about somebody that had a carpet.
Bell's Carpet. They're really nice people if you need some carpet.
So they gave a piece of carpet so the little boy could have a warm floor to crawl around on. I mean, you know, just some of those kinds of things. Okay, now you have another thing that you'd like to say.
Okay, and then the baby shower drive, but also to go back and stay on your focus just a little, we are looking for other families, and this is a small, growing, evolving thing. If you have ideas, if you have something you'd like to add or ask, or a family that you know, let us know. If you know, and we're gonna see what we can do. You know, it's just
part of the thing of neighbor helping neighbor is that there are various neighborhoods